So I remember taking a spiritual class a number of years ago where we were asked to chart out our entire lives on a single piece of paper. And, kind of like the high moments would be high on the page and the low moments would be low. And you would start out on the left side when you were born, and different people would put, their birth incredibly high on the page because that's what their spiritual belief is, right? And that's where we come from. And certain low points would be lower. And so everybody's life charts kind of looked like this. And it's an incredibly powerful exercise when you do that. And you notice when you kind of pull back and look at your life in that macro way that there are more highs than there are lows for most people in the room. And the lows usually are temporary because after a low point, there always goes back to a high point. So one thing that's clear through this chart of everyone's lives is no one has a chart that looks like this, just a high the whole time. And I think it would be odd if that were the case. So that's why I thought about talking about obstacles today. And I thought about the talk title, Unexpected Obstacles. But in a way, if you think of it, obstacles are always going to happen to some degree. So we just don't know when to expect them. But no matter who we are and no matter how much spiritual work we've done, obstacles present themselves into our path. And when we first encounter an obstacle, there's an inclination to do what? Turn back and go the other way? Or go around it if you can? Don't look at it? And sometimes obstacles go away on their own. But when those obstacles come up, we're really good at distracting ourselves, whether it be TV or Facebook or doom scrolling on our iPhones. We're good at looking away. But the obstacles, many of them keep on showing up, maybe in different incarnations. And maybe it shows up as a person. And maybe it shows up as how a person is being. Or maybe it shows up as a health setback or some unwelcome situation. Perhaps it's a situation that makes us either triggers our fears, triggers our angers, makes us scared, makes us frustrated, takes our mood down. And sometimes the obstacle is just a mood itself, and we're not quite sure. Hence the phrase, waking up on the wrong side of the bed, right? We're just not sure. And so once again, no matter how much we try to go around these obstacles and ignore them, they tend to recur. So back to the idea of thinking about what a chart would look like for your whole life. It makes me think about what David Alt said the other day about honoring your entire journey. That's one way to honor the entire journey, every part of it, even the ups and downs, even the sorrow. The poet Khalil Gibran said, "The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain." And I've always interpreted it as, in my own way, as pain and adversity. Pain and adversity are the knife that carve more deeply the bowl that contains your deepest happiness. So if you go through life without having ever come across struggles and pain and obstacles and look them in the face, then your bowl is shallow. But those of you who have faced adversity and challenges, the bowl that contains your deepest happiness, it's so much more rich. It's so much more rich because you're so grateful because of that duality. And furthering this idea, then we can think of obstacles as a gift. Whatever it is, when an obstacle presents itself to you, any obstacle, physical, mental, situational, you can say to yourself, this is for me. This is for me. If life is a school, what is this obstacle for? And even those of us who are attracted to the law of attraction via Esther Hicks, there's something called contrast. Contrast is obstacles in your path, and they are necessary for you to climb to the next level of the vortex. They are the way that you're able to tell the universe, no, I don't want that, or I want to change this situation. I want to deal with this situation. And through this contrast, it's like, rungs on the ladder in which you're able to climb to the next level. And whenever you encounter an obstacle, I would say a piece of advice I would give is don't look away. I mean, you don't have to stare at the obstacle and fixate on the obstacle. But if our immediate idea is to just turn the other way the second something unpleasant comes up, I'm talking about now just looking at it and being with it for just 30 seconds. Just be with the feeling. And sometimes that feeling, by being with it, that's all it needed to teach you, is just be with that feeling for a moment. David Alt, in his workshop on Wednesday night, he talked about the biggest perpetrators of our grief are sometimes presented as the obstacles embodied in other people in our path. And when they come in the form of other people in our path, they are called, according to David Alt, gatekeepers. And he indicates that it is a rite of passage to move through the gate of a challenge that's presenting itself as another person, or how another person is being, because that person is being a way shower. And if we move through the gate, David Alt says, whatever is happening in that moment becomes transitory. And we learn that whatever this challenge is, this is happening, but this is not who I am. So we separate ourselves from the condition, we separate ourselves from the event, we separate ourselves from the gift, looking at it as a gift, not looking at it as a definer of who we are or who we aren't. And I would say our sole role is to allow it and even welcome it. And this reminds me of a Persian poet by the name of Rumi, who has a poem called The Guest House. And in it, Rumi says, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new ritual, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes perhaps as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty it of its furniture, treat each guest honorably. He or she may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from the beyond." I think that's so beautiful. And it just is it's a deeper level of truth in terms of just staying with the obstacle for just a moment. This whole talk about obstacles, I was actually going to base the entire talk on a book that I read called What's in the Way is the Way. And you may have heard of that book. The author is Mary O'Malley. So she wrote an entire book basically about obstacles. But I would like to share 3 key points that I took away from this book. First of all, Mary O'Malley said, don't resist the obstacles in your path. So we've touched upon that a little bit already. But she said, you have spent most of your life resisting immediate experience, but your pain is made worse by resisting. This is true for physical, mental, or emotional pain. She said the pain is made worse by resisting and avoiding. Isn't it true? How, like, you found that when you're avoiding something, sometimes it gets bigger and you have to just come back and deal with it and look at it. So don't resist. Next, she says, instead of becoming upset when the obstacle comes into your path, become curious. Every single feeling in you, she says, have it expressed in your body. It expresses in your body in a particular way. And your body will signal you long before your mind signals you. Your body will signal that you are reacting to something. So ask yourself, she says, do I really want my reactions to run my life? And with a mindful curiosity, ask these questions. Why is this happening? What strings are being pulled? What is asking to be seen by me? What is the way through this? What do I need to say, do, or be that is for my highest good in this moment? Ask, how can I serve in this moment? And ask, what is asking for my attention? What is asking for my attention right now? And finally, she says, don't be in a hurry to fix it. If we're in a hurry to fix it, we may not recognize the gift that it is for us. One of those things that has cropped up for me is, some of you may have noticed I have a piece of tape on my finger, and my finger can't really bend backwards anymore, and it's in relatively constant low-level pain. And it hurts to drum, and it hurts to operate a computer. It hurts to be on the mouse trackpad, and it hurts to type too long. And so I had a couple of doctors, very good doctors, in disagreement over what's going on. And I decided this week to ask the question, what are you here to teach me? You know, this happened pretty quickly, this state. It just came up. And it's been going on for about, I'd say, 3 months now. So for me, it's asking the question, David, how badly do you want to drum again? How do you want drumming to integrate into your life, into your complex life? And it's also asking, how much do you value rest and self-care? Just my finger is asking me that. So I'm going to try to learn from my finger. And of course, I'm going to try to go to another doctor and try to get another opinion, right? You've got to treat and move your feet. You've got to pray and turn on the water. You've got to believe in God and hitch up the camel. So I'm going to do both those things. The final point from Mary O'Malley's book is, she says, know that in the state of obstacles, you can trust the universe with whatever is happening. And specifically, she says, life is trustable. It's not always likable, but it is trustable because it's all okay. It's all truly okay. This trust is not trusting that you will get what you want. This trust understands that you will get what you need in order to come out of the struggle that appear as clouds over your soul. And finally, she says, your discomforts are not here because something is wrong. They are here as your guide through the clouds of struggle and back into the meadow of your very being. So I love that. I just love that analogy she makes about going back to the meadow of your own being. And these obstacles are tools that help us thin out the clouds that are clouding over our meadow. I'm going to say one more thing about obstacles that I've not mentioned, and that is some wisdom from Michael Beckwith. He has a system or a, I guess you could call it a process, where he says you must stabilize the life structures in order to move to the next stage spiritually. And there are 8 life structures that he talks about: ego, livelihood, finances, relationships, the body, temple, care, body, self-care, beliefs, known and hidden, and finally, establishing spiritual community. But the one I didn't mention, the 8th one, is a spiritual life. And in order to establish a spiritual life, the main thing that he talks about overcoming is victimhood. Victimhood. So when we see the obstacle in front of us, we often say, why is this happening to me again? Look, there it goes again. And so being in a victim mentality basically removes our responsibility. It causes us to think stuff happens to me, maybe because I'm bad and I'm not deserving of things good happening to me. So getting rid of the victim state. It reminds me of, I had a dog. There is a dog that lives about 200 feet that way that barks incessantly from like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. for days on end. And then it'll disappear for a day or two. And then it'll come back, and then it'll disappear, and then it'll come back again. But it is the loudest dog, the loudest dog. It's not barking right now. But I finally decided I was not going to be a victim anymore. I kept on putting myself in the spot of blaming them. So I drove around until I found this house, and I walked up, looked like a deserted house, and there was a huge dog in the backyard, a very disheveled looking backyard, and a poor dog and a huge dog in a very small backyard was barking nonstop. So I put a very nice note on the door, a very nice note. And I'll be darned, that was 10 days ago, and the dog has not barked once. Now I'm hoping that something happened nice to that dog, like they gave it a better place to live or they brought it inside permanently, but that was me taking myself out of victim in a way that was actually quite meaningful because the dog was causing me a lot of stress. So just the act of saying, I'm not a victim here. I can communicate with heart and with kindness by putting a note on this person's door. That's all it took. It was 5 minutes and the whole problem was done. I don't know why I didn't do it earlier. So some obstacles that seem to me, I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Simple, right? Some obstacles have simple solutions. So in summary about obstacles, when we think of them as a gift and become curious enough to meditate on what that gift is, we can move through these obstacles. Whether these obstacles are people, whether these obstacles are events, whether they're health setbacks, we can view them as gateways. We can view the obstacle as a way shower when we become present with it. And then what's in the way will become the way. And so it is.
Just when I take a step outside, the rain, it catches me with no warning. Right before I lift off, what was once light and airy can't catch my breath. Poor sweet canary, for the weight on my body. Just when I take a step outside, all around I see the empty spaces. No matter how many times on this flight I can barely get the height. Now I wanna soar, soar with clean traces. Oh, break me, take me, climb inside. Bring me to a new divide, and I will grow to know a better me, a better me. And this time I will lift off, and fly high. I will lift off and fly high. Neat ever time we make quite a pair, and it's a solo flight with the wind in my hair. There's a quiet line between me and the air, and I like it here. Yes, well, I like it here. Oh, break me, take me, climb inside. Bring me to a new divide. Oh, break me, take me, climb inside. Bring me to a new divide, and I will grow to know a better me, a better me. And this time I will lift off. This time I will lift off, lift off, lift off and fly. I will lift off and fly. Lift off and fly. I will fly high. Let us take a deep breath and totally relax. Imagine you see the sun beginning to set. You are walking through the woods and you see the beauty of the sun of many colors bouncing off the trees, the water, and the clouds. You have never seen anything that spectacular before. As you walk, you slow down to enjoy the beauty of everything around you. You see a bench under a huge tree, and you go and sit as you breathe deep breaths and watch the beauty all around you as you go into the silence.
You are amazed at the colors. And you take another deep breath and begin to stand up and walk towards home. You do so with a lighter step as you turn once again to see the sun one more time. You just grasp and gasp at the beauty. You put a smile on your face and you thank God for the breath and the beauty of the day. And you promise yourself that you will take that walk a little more often to enjoy the beautiful gifts from God.